Is Dan Mullen doing enough for UNLV in the transfer portal? What's up? This is Technically Correct with Tyler Bischoff. On today's show, can UNLV make a run at the college football playoff with their current transfer portal haul? Plus, is the Mountain West screwed next year when all of these schools leave? Are they going to be a one-bid conference league for basketball? And Adin Hill is almost back for the Golden Knights. A big thank you to Battle Blast Las Vegas for sponsoring the show. Check out battleblast.lv.com if you're looking for some laser tag in Las Vegas. But we start today's show looking at UNLV football. They've only landed 5 players out of the transfer portal. There are 22 FBS programs with 5 players or less out of the portal so far. 2 Mountain West teams are below UNLV, Hawaii, and UTEP. There are 3 power conference teams that are at 5 or less. Notre Dame has 5. Miami and Stanford are both under 5. But most of the programs that have 5 or less are teams like Kent State, South Alabama, Akron, right? Some of the bottom tier programs of FBS football. UNLV should be viewing itself much, much higher than that. And they've only landed 5, right? They have not had this big transfer portal haul, at least not yet. There are a few important notes here for some context because they haven't gotten a lot. There's not a big quantity here, but I don't think it's that bad yet, right? If you look at the rest of the Mountain West, or at least teams that'll be in the Mountain West next season, no one in the Mountain West has 10 commits out of the transfer portal. So UNLV is not falling far behind the other programs in the Mountain West. Also, despite only having 5, UNLV still has the highest ranked transfer portal class among Mountain West schools because they've gotten a pretty good quality out of the portal. So they're not falling behind the Mountain West schools either. Just judging them against their own conference, UNLV is fine. Now, teams like USF, Memphis, North Texas, some of the better teams at the group of 5 or group of 6 level from this past season, a lot of those have 20 and 30 commits already. Now, USF, Memphis, North Texas lost their head coaches and a bunch of players. UNLV kept Dan Mullen, and UNLV only has 12 outgoing transfers, which, if you're doing the math, is still more than the 5 that they have coming in, so they'd need to add a few more. Last year, for example, when UNLV went through a coaching change, brought in Dan Mullen, they brought in 41 guys in the transfer portal, according to 24/7 Sports. They lost 38. Huge turnover year last year. This year, at least so far, not nearly the same. The coach is still here, right? Also, I think it's reasonable to sort of assume that programs like UNLV and other group of 6 programs will start getting higher quantity of transfer portal guys once the power conference teams are a little more settled, right? I'm sure there are players out there that UNLV would take now, but they've got a chance to make more money at, Mississippi State or at Baylor or something like that. But they're like the second or third option at their position. And if those other schools land their top option, then all of a sudden this person doesn't have that choice at an SEC, Big Ten, ACC school, something like that, and they turn to UNLV. I would guess there would be some players like that end up at UNLV in other group of 6 places. But I have 2 questions for you, right? First one is this. Do you want a heavy high school recruiting program? Because Dan Mullen brought in 24 high school kids on signing day. UNLV had the highest ranked recruiting class in the Mountain West. The freshman class is going to make up a good chunk of the roster. Does that matter? With the transfer portal, we're watching, Indiana, a really old team with a bunch of transfers, probably win the national championship. They're going to play Miami, who has a transfer quarterback in Carson Beck. Building through high school recruiting is as unimportant as it's ever been in college football. And you'd rather have a good incoming class than a bad one. It's not bad that UNLV has a good recruiting class, but how would you prefer to build a roster? If I gave you the option of 25 incoming freshmen and 5 incoming transfers, would you rather have that or 15 and 15? Or even 5 incoming freshmen and 25 incoming transfers, right? UNLV probably can't be as choosy as some of the better programs in college football, but I personally would lean more towards transfers. If I had the option, I would rather have a heavy transfer class because what we know, what we've seen is that if you have a player that's good at the group of 5 level, they're probably leaving, right? It wasn't a high school transfer or a high school recruit, but Anthony Calandria came in, had one good season here, and is gone and is back to a power conference opponent. So the advantage of, we brought in 24 freshmen, some of them aren't going to be any good, but we're going to develop some of them. A couple of them are going to be stars. You're losing those guys, right? Like you're almost certainly going to lose those players. The advantage of developing that freshman class isn't really there. So I'm not sitting here saying you should ignore high school recruiting. It's still going to be important. You can still find good players and probably good depth through high school recruiting. But it's less important, I think, than, say, the transfer portal or other ways to build your roster. So that's really the first one, because when we talk about the transfer portal and UNLV's lack of players in it, they did bring in a good and, fairly big high school recruiting class. The other question I have, how good should UNLV be next year? Among Mountain West teams, UNLV had the best season. Go yell at the sky, New Mexico. UNLV had the best season. They have the best incoming recruiting class of high school kids. And right now, the best incoming transfer class. UNLV should win the Mountain West next season. Right? I mean, they're coming off 3 straight good seasons in the Mountain West. The conference gets significantly easier with schools leaving, and nobody's outdone them in high school recruiting or the transfer portal, at least not yet. So they should win the Mountain West next year. Is that good enough for you? Right? Is that enough? Is just being the best in the Mountain West good enough? Because if it is, then everything I just said about the transfer portal and UNLV not doing enough doesn't matter. They're doing just as well, if not better, than every team that they're going to have to beat to win the Mountain West next season. But given the last 3 years, I think it's perfectly valid to look at UNLV football and say, all right, they should be at the top of the Mountain West and they should be competing for a playoff spot. UNLV's done that the last 2 years. I know this past year it was a very, very outside shot, but going into the Mountain West Championship game, UNLV did have a path there. If James Madison loses, UNLV has a chance to be ranked higher than Duke and go to the college football playoff. And I think that's a reasonable expectation for UNLV, right? I don't think it's hey, get in the playoffs or it's a failed season. That's absurd, obviously. But I think it's reasonable to say, hey, when we get into November, we should be talking about the playoffs with UNLV. They should be, into November, a 1 or 2 loss team that is among the top of the group of 5 programs, right? And I think that's realistic for UNLV football. And so you look at it, right? Strength of schedule might hold them back next year. There's going to be most likely a champion from the American that has the same record or better than UNLV and a much better strength of schedule. The conference they're in is going to hurt them, but reasonably, right? If UNLV gets to 10-2, there's potentially a conversation depending on everybody else. And if they're 11-1 going into the conference championship game, they're going to have a real shot. And I think 10 wins is attainable. That is an attainable goal to look for. The preseason win totals will probably be less than that, but that's an attainable goal, an attainable thing to strive for and sort of expect. And so this is why I ask, right? Has UNLV done enough in the transfer portal? Because they weren't a playoff team this past season. Have they gotten better? Probably not, right? They've probably held about even so far. They need to bring in probably a few more players out of the portal, but I'm sure they will. But they haven't looked like they've gotten better noticeably than last year. And if Jackson Arnold is bad, the quarterback, then they're probably worse. But it all depends on your expectations. I think it's fair to put sort of 10 wins up there as the expectation and in the playoff conversation. Again, not in the playoff. I think that's ridiculous, but in the conversation. And if you're 11-2 and won the Mountain West and there's an 11-2 American champ that gets in over you, yeah, it's going to be hard to hold that against you as a bad season. So that's my thoughts on it. And the transfer portal maybe not being as good as you would hope it would be. Still early. It's still mid-January. We'll see where UNLV goes from here. Now, for the players they've brought in, they lose Anthony Calandria. They bring in Jackson Arnold. Probably the most important addition is to go get a quarterback. I will say it over and over. You need more than one quarterback. They've got Alex Orji from Michigan, who barely played this past season, got hurt, but said he's coming back. They should have 2 legitimate options for a competition, right? It's not like, oh, we're just counting if this guy doesn't work out, we're completely screwed. There's no quarterback left on the roster. I think you should always strive to have two quarterback options on your team. Getting in Jackson Arnold, very, very important. The highest ranked recruit by 24/7, by the way, is Colton Thomason. He is the offensive lineman from Baylor. Obviously, the offensive line is important. They also did add to the wide receiver room with Taz Reddick, who's from Oregon State. The wide receiver room is going to look completely different next year. I think it's the top 4 receivers from last year are all going to be gone. So you're going to have a brand new wide receiver room. We'll see how good Taz Reddick is, but they need players there as well. Interestingly, though, only one defensive transfer. UNLV landed a safety yesterday from Oklahoma State, Landon Cleveland. He actually played in all 12 games for Oklahoma State. Had 33 tackles, 2 pass breakups in there. Oklahoma State was terrible last season, but he did play. A lot of the power conference transfers that UNLV gets, didn't play a lot. Colton Thomason didn't play a lot at Baylor. So having somebody that actually played, even if Oklahoma State was awful, right? UNLV probably beats them last year. It's still good. But that might be the big difference maker, is the defensive side of the ball. How many defensive starters do they get out of the portal before next season starts? So far, they've gotten what looks to be 1. They probably need more than that if they're going to be better than what they were, and better than what they were is getting into the playoffs, or at least being very, very close. Now, a little bit more on college football, because I can't believe this is still a story. We still do not know what the format is for next year's college football playoff. The conference commissioners are going to meet in Miami this weekend before the national championship game to discuss the future of the college football playoff. There's a deadline of January 23rd to have the new format in place, though that deadline's been extended before, so they could extend it again. The deadline, by the way, is with ESPN, because ESPN has to sort of set their television schedule and know how many games there are to be broadcast and all that. So they could extend that again. That's not out of the question, but they have a deadline of January 23rd. According to a story at ESPN, the SEC and the Big Ten obviously are the two sort of power players here that have to agree on something. And if they don't, they're just going to stay at the current 12-team format. But the SEC wants a 16-team format. And within that 16-team format, keep the 5 conference champion automatic qualifiers, and then just have the top 11 at-large teams. The Big Ten has been pushing for a bunch of different formats where power conferences would get more than 1 guaranteed spot, right? Whether it's 4 from the SEC and Big Ten and 2 from the ACC and Big 12, or 2-2-1-1, whatever it is, they want more than 1 guaranteed spot. The SEC is largely held and say, we just want as many at large as possible. But apparently, according to the story to ESPN, the Big Ten might agree to what the SEC wants for next year, and that's the 16-team format with 5 champs and 11 at large. If the Big Ten gets some sort of assurances that 3 years down the road, they'll expand to 24 teams. The 24-team expansion would probably require conference championship games going away at the end of the year, at least for power conferences. There was a mention of play-in games, so if we got 24 teams and we're still doing play-in games, that's a huge tournament, right? So there's some scheduling things that would have to be figured out a few years in advance. So 3 years is what the Big Ten is saying there. I don't really care what they do for this next season, as long as, 1, they keep a group of 5 spot. There absolutely should be a group of 5 spot. And 2, they expand. I want more college football playoffs, right? If it's 16 or 24, I want more. So I want to see a bigger tournament. The playoffs are awesome. As much as people get caught up in, there's blowouts and you can't have James Madison in and all that, I don't care. We didn't have these games before. We're taking something we didn't have and now adding it more. If there's a 30, 50% chance, whatever, that it's a blowout, fine. There was a 0% chance I got a good game before because these games didn't exist. So I do want to see an expanded playoff. Give me 16 teams in, because the most fun thing in American sports is playoffs, right? The most fun thing is, we could win a championship. Even if you go into it as James Madison, even if you go into it being like, there's like a 2% chance we could actually win this championship here, it's still incredibly fun. So give me some form of expansion and guarantee at least 1 group of 5 spot, and I think I will be happy. Coming up next here on Technically Correct, it is Bischoff's Briefs.
Battle Blast, been serving Las Vegas since June 2012 with the very best in family entertainment. We are proud to provide the best facility, equipment, and service possible. Strap on laser tag vests, step into the 5,600 square foot two-story arena designed to look like a worn-torn city street. An exciting atmosphere filled with exhilarating music, blacklight effects, and fog. Battle Blast also features a viewing deck for those not playing can watch players vest up and catch a view of the action going on in the arena. In between games, check out our arcade and prize center and enjoy tasty treats from our snack bar. Birthday parties, sports teams, group outings, and corporate events. Battle Blast does it all. We want to make your Battle Blast experience so good you'll want to return again and again. Battle Blast is the ultimate destination for family fun and friendly competition.
Bischoff's Briefs is brought to you by Battle Blast Las Vegas, the best laser tag in Las Vegas. Battle Blast is the perfect spot for your next event, whether it's a kid's birthday party, a corporate event, Little League season ends, whatever it is, it's the best place to go for your next party. And as I say, do it for your own birthday. Get your friends together and go see who's better at laser tag at Battle Blast Las Vegas. Plus, for whatever party you host there, there's an arcade, there's prizes, there's more than just laser tag. Battle Blast Las Vegas, located at 8125 West Sahara Avenue. Your next stop for fun in Las Vegas is Battle Blast Las Vegas. The Golden Knights are back tonight, first game of a back-to-back, and against the Kings in LA. They get a road and then home back-to-back, but against the Kings, one of the teams in the Pacific that are chasing the Golden Knights. It's now a 6-point lead for Vegas over LA. LA is 5th in the Pacific Division right now. They also haven't played since the first game of the season. And then they interestingly played the Kings the last game before the Olympic break and then the first game after the Olympic break. So they'll be done with the Kings here by the end of February, done with the Kings and the Sharks because they don't play the Sharks anymore, which meanwhile, they've played Edmonton once. They then play Edmonton 3 times in the final 20 games of the year. So the schedule is fairly unbalanced as far as when you play what divisional opponents. So these are important games in that if the Golden Knights are going to get caught, if they're going to blow anything, it's going to be because they lose in regulation to the LA Kings, to the San Jose Sharks, right? Edmonton's right there with them. That's probably a real race for 1 and 2. I don't think the Golden Knights are getting caught by anybody other than Edmonton in the Pacific, and I actually think they'll probably hold them off too. But if they were to blow it, this is where it would happen, right? It'd be because you start losing these games to LA, to Seattle, right? Whatever it is, that's where these losses would come. Now, in regulation is probably the key there, because if you lose in overtime, they only gain 1 point on you, and this game is definitely going to overtime. Right? It almost has to, right? These two teams have combined for 22 overtime losses and 12 overtime or shootout wins. These two teams go to overtime all the time. It'll actually be disappointing if they don't go to overtime. Also, a Golden Knights win would give them their first 5-game win streak of the season. So you get to say this is the best they're playing, which came off their longest losing streak of the season. Also, an important note, Adin Hill, according to Bruce Cassidy, is traveling with the Golden Knights. He's not going to play today. Carl Lindbaum is expected to be the backup to Akira Schmid. But Bruce Cassidy said it's possible that Adin Hill does play on Thursday when they come back and take on Toronto. So that would make sense. You play Schmid in LA, you're planning for Hill to play the second of the back-to-back, and if for some reason Hill's not able to go, it's Carl Lindbaum can make that start instead. So it certainly seems like Adin Hill will be back this week, right? It seems like that's happening very, very soon and probably on Thursday. Now, Bruce Cassidy also got asked about William Karlsson and specifically was asked if Karlsson had a setback. Cassidy said a little bit and then said leave him week to week. So they're still going week to week on Karlsson. He's been out for more than 2 months. But specifically asked about a setback, and Cassidy said yes, he had a little bit of a setback. He then was specifically asked about possible surgery, and Cassidy said, not sure what will happen. That doesn't mean anything. In fact, that makes me think he is having surgery, and Cassidy doesn't want to say that out loud. Ken Volke of Sinbin.Vegas reported earlier this week that Carlson won't be available right after the Olympic break ends, and likely won't be available for the trade deadline, and that there's a possibility he has to have surgery, which could end his season entirely. He has a lower body injury. We don't know what that lower body injury is. So the update here on Carlson, both from Ken's reporting and now the way Bruce Cassidy talked about it, none of it sounds good. It certainly sounds like Carlson is going to be out even longer, and there's a real chance he misses the rest of the season. The other two injury updates, Brandon Saad is taking longer than expected to come back. Also, Brett Howden is not traveling with the team to LA. Normally, not traveling sounds bad because you go on a 3 or 4 game road trip. It's only a 1 game road trip. So not traveling, all that guarantees is that Howden misses this 1 game against the Kings, could be back on Thursday. But no Saad, no Howden, no William Karlsson, and Adin Hill potentially coming back. That's really your injury updates there. Also wanted to note, shout out to Vegas Hockey Fan 1 on Twitter for telling me to stick to laser tag yesterday. Fantastic, funny line, right? A lot of people, especially on Twitter, will try to argue with you about a headline or a tweet or something like that. They don't actually listen or read to what the full content is, which is fine. But actually, it's not. Listen to my stuff. But I appreciate Vegas Hockey Fan 1. They took the time to listen or watch the show, saw the sponsorship I had with Battle Blast Las Vegas, and told me to stick to laser tag. Excellent research. If you're going to be a hater, you need to do the research. That's like my whole thing here. I'm going to hate on things, but I'm going to look it up first. I'm going to look up information first to back up my hating. So I'm a big fan of Vegas Hockey Fan 1 on Twitter. That was great research. And yeah, I hope you all tell me to stick to laser tag anytime you think I have a terrible take. The Chargers fired offensive coordinator Greg Roman. They might start winning now. Probably the worst outcome for the Raiders is if the Chargers hire a good offensive coordinator, right? Like Mike McDaniel becoming the offensive coordinator for Harbaugh in LA. I kind of like that idea for the Chargers. Worst possible outcome there. The Chargers, I think Jim Harbaugh, very good coach, would want him to coach my team, even though he's not the offensive play calling type. I think Justin Herbert's an awesome quarterback. I think they have two of the most important things. What they don't have is a good play caller. If they get one, it feels like the Chargers could be really, really good. I know it always feels like the Chargers could be really, really good, and they're never really, really good. But it does feel like the Chargers could be really, really good if they get that hire right. Also, in college football, there's a new proposal. This is from coaches. Keep that in mind. Coaches have voted unanimously, according to David Ubben, to change the redshirt rules. So right now, you can redshirt after playing in 4 games or less in a season. Right? It's basically like, hey, you played a few games. Do you really burn a full year of eligibility if you played in 3 games? Right? That seems a little unfair. The coaches are now suggesting that number be 9, meaning you can play in 9 games and still get a red shirt. So you could have a player that doesn't play any of the non-conference games, plays all 9 conference games, still gets a red shirt, comes back and plays the next year. You could have a team, and this is where, if I were a coach and this was approved, this is what I'd be doing. If I have a team and I'm like, okay, we could go to the playoffs this year, and then 9 games in, we're 6-3 and we're not going to the playoffs. You're not playing anymore. Save that year of eligibility. You're coming back next season. You might lose a player in the transfer portal and none of it actually matters, but that's what I would be trying to do. I would be manipulating this if my season doesn't go as well as I thought it should. It's very bizarre, by the way. The whole idea of a redshirt year was bring a player in, you get this developmental year where they practice and learn as a freshman, and then they don't burn the year of eligibility because they weren't playing anyways. Just give everybody an extra year of eligibility. If we're going to do 9 games, just you get 5 years. Everybody gets 5 years, right? It's so bizarre that coaches are like, yeah, give them 9 games to play. I mean, I know why they want to do it. It makes their job a lot easier. They can get an extra year of eligibility. But it just seems so bizarre that would be the thing to go to. Last note in Bischoff's briefs, Mike Tomlin, no longer the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He stepped away. I'm going to get more into this and sort of what it means for the Raiders, because now there's another job that's open and potentially a better job than what the Raiders have right now. But Tomlin leaving the Steelers, kind of surprising. I do think there are some reasons it makes sense. How good are the Steelers going to be next season? Who's their quarterback next season? What I do find interesting is that he's apparently going to go to TV, right? And I've seen tweets about he can pick which network he wants to go to. He's already got offers on the table. Is anybody watching a game or a studio show or a pregame show because Mike Tomlin's on it? Like, I don't know. I don't feel like I'm going to turn my TV on because, Tomlin's on NBC this week. Or, ESPN got Tomlin to help with Monday Night Football coverage. Like, if I want to watch the game, I'm going to watch the game, whether Tomlin's there or not. Right? I don't know. It just seems weird to me that there's this, like, crazy strong desire for these coaches or players when I'm like, do any fans sit back and say, yes, that's what I want? Seems weird to me. But Bischoff's Briefs is brought to you by Battle Blast Las Vegas, the best laser tag in Las Vegas. Host your next birthday party at Battle Blast. Book the party package, and you'll get a private party room, dedicated host, pizza, soda, arcade tickets, and of course, laser tag. Plus, you can add on games for adults. You see your kids playing, like, oh, that looks fun. You can add on for yourself or book it for yourself. Book your own birthday party at Battle Blast Las Vegas. Battle Blast Las Vegas, located at 8125 West Sahara Avenue, your next stop for fun in Las Vegas. If you want more of me, I've got a Patreon, patreon.com/technicallycorrect with Tyler Bischoff. You can go there. You can support me. Even if you don't want more of me, you can support me if you really like me. But we're going to have some extra content there. Already have a video up. I think I'm going to write something. I got some UNLV basketball stuff to write. So I might be writing stuff at Patreon too. But we're going to have extra content up there, some extra shows, some extra short form videos, maybe some extra writing. So check out my Patreon if you want to support me and get a little bit of bonus content. Now, UNLV beat Boise State last night in a thriller. I don't want to say fantastic game because I don't really think either team played that well, but it was a thrilling game towards the end, right? Like, that was a classic kind of bad team game. There were some tremendous plays by UNLV, some great possessions, some good decisions, and then they just had some horrible plays and decisions and possessions, right? Like, I was trying to keep track of it, and it was going back and forth so much that it was hard to just really put it all together. But, like, you go towards the end of that regulation, Tyron Jones steals the ball. They're winning. It's the final 30 seconds. Tyron Jones steals the ball. He's got a fast break, uncontested dunk, misses it, right? Great play to get the defensive steal and go down, take away a possession, but then you miss the dunk. However, Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn is right there to get the rebound and the putback, so it doesn't matter, right? All good. Then UNLV's inbounding while leading, right? Boise, I forgot to mention, after the Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn putback, they gave up a dunk, a transition 1-on-0 dunk. UNLV scored, and they gave up a 1-on-0 dunk the other way. Incredibly bad. And then when they're inbounding the ball and, Boise State's got a foul, we're into the final 10 seconds or whatever it is, Howie Fleming just pushes a guy, right? And they reviewed it for a flagrant foul. It wasn't a flagrant foul, but Howie Fleming could have very easily been called, one, for an offensive foul, right? The actual foul on the ball happened before, or two, for a flagrant foul. Like, that could have been a game-losing play from Howie Fleming. And then they're up 3 with 8 seconds left. They don't foul, up 3. Boise State ties the game with a 3. Jacob Benarby just doesn't contest the shot at the end. We're going to get more into that decision a little bit later. Then we get into overtime, and you had a possession where Tyron Jones blocks 2 shots on the same possession. And then UNLV goes the other way. Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn takes a quick floater that misses and somehow leads to a fast break and 2 points for Boise State. Then UNLV gets it back. Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn comes up, has a turnover, leads to a fast break, uncontested layup, and Boise State's all of a sudden tied the game in the final 2 minutes when they were down by 4. Right? It's just like you had this great defensive play and then just back-to-back terrible offensive possessions. And then they've got a chance to put this game away at the free throw line We know UNLV's bad at free throws. Dre Gibbs Lawhorn misses 2 free throws. They come down the other way, and Tyron Jones blocks a layup, eliminates a shot there at the rim, right? Like, this team has been up and down all season, and we just saw the most up and down, final 5 minutes of regulation and then 5 minutes of overtime. UNLV held on to win. They made more of the good plays than the bad plays in this one, and they end up winning that game by 4 in overtime. And they've won at Stanford. They've won at Memphis. This is one of their better wins of the season, one of their better performances, even with that up and down play. And I'll say this, 2 huge performances, right? Dre Gibbs Lawhorn had 33 points, his career high. He wasn't great late in that game. End of regulation and overtime. Dre Gibbs Lawhorn was not good, but his offense is really why they had the lead at the end of regulation to blow, but why they had the lead there at the end of regulation. His offense was very important in this game. He's still not this fully polished player, right? He doesn't shoot well from 3, even though he's having a great season. I don't think he's the greatest player coming off of ball screens, but they ran a lot of that for him against Boise State, and he got into the paint a lot, and his overall field goal percentage was kind of low, but was, I think, perfectly fine at it. He doesn't really find the open man all that much coming off of ball screens, but he's very, very good in this game. Very, very good at getting to the paint, getting fouled, getting layups. Like, he was excellent in this game. And then really the star late was Tyron Jones. I mean, in the 5-minute overtime, he had 4 points. He made both of his free throws. He's very bad at those, but he made them. He blocked 3 shots in overtime, 3 of them, right? And had a rebound, had a steal. All 3 of his blocks were erasing layups or shots in the paint, right? Like, Tyron Jones was awesome in overtime. It was kind of the opposite of Dre Gibbs Lawhorn. Tyron Jones wasn't as good for the first, say, 35 minutes of that game, but towards the end there, he was their best player, and defensively was as dominant as you can be, right? You're blocking 3 shots and getting a steal within 5 minutes. That's pretty terrific. So they got 2 really big performances there from Dre Gibbs Lawhorn and Tyron Jones. But I do want to talk about fouling up 3 because there's 8 seconds left. You're up by 3 points. Boise State has the ball, and UNLV does not foul. It's an obvious fouling situation. For some reason, lots of college coaches don't like to foul in that scenario. Why it's a debate, I don't know. You should be fouling in that situation. But I will give Josh Pastner this credit. And I like Josh Pastner because of this. I like the way, at least with us when he talks to the media, the way he approaches things. He didn't, before even getting asked a question about it, in his opening statement, he addressed it. And he said the reason that they did not foul up 3 is because they're not a good free throw blockout team. He was worried that they were going to give up an offensive rebound on a missed free throw because you foul up 3, Boise State goes to the line, assuming they make the first one. Now Boise State's, they're going to have 4 seconds left and they're down 2, shooting 1 free throw. For Boise State, they want to miss the free throw, get the offensive rebound, and score to tie the game, or hit a 3 to win the game. And that's what Pastner said, that he was worried that they were going to give up this offensive rebound and it was going to get kicked out and they were going to hit a 3 and UNLV was going to lose in regulation. I don't agree with that. I still think that's bad logic because think of all the things I just said. If you foul up 3, they got to make the first free throw. They got to miss the second free throw. They've got to get the offensive rebound and they've got to kick it out for a 3 and then make the 3 to beat you. That's why fouling up 3 is good because all of those things have to go right for Boise State. Every now and then they will, right? There are so many basketball games that every now and then it will happen. But the odds are it's not going to happen. The percentages say that's your better win probability move, and he did not do it. Again, I disagree with it, but the way Pastner explained it afterwards, at least there's some thought process behind it and not just this is what we do. And he even took it a step further. He said to the media, we might need to evaluate our strategy in that situation, right? He even said hey, I might be wrong. We might be doing this wrong. And so do I think he made the wrong choice? Yes, but I like the idea of a coach who's willing to say, this is why we did it. This was my reasoning for it. It might be wrong, and I might need to look more into that, right? I don't think he will. I think he's going to stick to it based on what he said. But I like that Josh Pastner is willing to sort of explain things and then also say, maybe this is wrong. Now, the other part of that play. So UNLV is up by 3 points. There's 8 seconds left. Boise State's got to go the length of the floor. Jacob Benarby is guarding one of their bigs in the corner. Now, this big for Boise State shoots 38% from three. He's a good shooter. You're up by 3 points. Jacob Benarby in the corner is just not guarding the 3-point line. He doesn't get screened on the play at all, but the ball ends up in the corner, and Jacob Benarby is just not there to contest the shot. It's a half-hearted contest from Jacob Benarby. After the game, Josh Pastner said, like, Benarby messed up, that he wanted Benarby to be playing sort of on top of that shooter in the corner so he could not even catch the ball, right? Pastner said, make him backdoor cut, right? Give up the backdoor cut because you're up by 3. If they backdoor cut for a layup with 2 seconds left, who cares, right? And Benarby didn't do it. I don't think Jacob Benarby is very good. He's in the game more than you would like, but they've got foul trouble. Emmanuel Steffen fouled out again in this game, right? Like, there's reasons that Benarby has to be on the floor, but I just think there's too many mistakes. Benarby subbed into the game, and the very first possession that he was in on defense, Boise State ran a post ISO, and he got scored on. I don't think he's very good, but he's going to play, and that was a pretty brutal mistake from Benarby because if he does what Pastner asks, Boise State doesn't get that 3 off, and the game doesn't go to overtime. So I think Pastner made the wrong choice. Benarby screwed up the actual execution of what Pastner wanted to happen, but I think Pastner made the wrong choice, and we'll see if he changes it going forward, though, again, I don't really expect him to. One last thing on this game, by the way. Josh Pastner in the postgame press conference told us that he got a flat tire on his way to Thomas and Mack. And I guess he drove however long it was flat. I asked him afterwards, how long did he drive with it flat? And he didn't really know. But he also said that he was going to have to wait after the game to get the tire fixed. First off, Pastner doesn't know how to change a tire. I should have asked him that question after the game. But Pastner's not changing doesn't know how to change his own tire. And second, why didn't somebody change it during the game? I mean, or before the game. Pastner's not getting to the game at a tip, right? You're there early. You're telling me nobody was going out there to fix his tire, change his tire, or call somebody to come change the tire? What's going on there? The next time we talk to Pastner, I got to ask him how long, because he said he was going to wait around for hours after the game ended to get his tire changed. Like, what? That can't be right. That can't be how that works. So, I don't know. I'm now fascinated to find out the update on Josh Pastner's tire and how long he actually waited at Thomas and Mack after they beat Boise State to win that game, or to get his tire fixed, I should say. So, Pastner got a flat tire, and he's probably going to go to try to slash his own tires on the way to games if that's how they win games. I lied. I do have one more thing on this. I'm going to miss Leon Rice. I know UNLV fans hate Leon Rice. Is it all because of him celebrating in front of Dave Rice on the game Boise State won when the refs had to make a decision there at the buzzer? Is it all stemming from that? Is that why UNLV fans hate Leon Rice? I'm going to miss him because he's not like this crazy over-the-top animated coach, but he's been a pretty animated coach in his time at Boise State. And last night, John Von Tobel was sitting next to me, and John Von Tobel asked me, like, does Leon Rice hate his team? I think he might, because he was on the floor a lot. Refs had to walk him back to the bench at one point, but he was on the floor, like, coaching. I don't want to say like yelling at, because it didn't seem like just straight yelling. It seemed like he was on the floor trying to coach his players more than I've ever seen, more than really from any coach that I've seen before. And like every time out, he's like halfway out on the floor. He's right up in a guy's face, like explaining something or maybe questioning, like, what the hell were you doing? Like it seemed like the most animated and most coaching he's done in game that I've seen. And I'm going to miss him. Right? Leon Rice has been in the Mountain West, I think, longer than I've been in Las Vegas, right? He's been there forever. And Boise State's leaving the Mountain West. UNLV's, I mean, I guess they could schedule him in a non-conference, but UNLV's not going to play Boise State every year. We're not going to get Leon Rice every year. I'm going to miss it. And by the way, for UNLV fans that still hate Leon Rice for cheering in Dave Rice's face after that win, perfect. Sports is for the illogical hatred. Sports is for the like, oh my God, what'd you do? You fist pump and yelled after you won a game? Oh, fuck you, dude. I'm never going to be a fan of you again. That's what sports is for. That's what I do, right? So I am going to miss Leon Rice. It's a lot of fun when you have Leon Rice around. So yeah, we'll see. So that's it. UNLV got to win. Fun win. I would say big win, but it's not really a big win. They're not going to the NCAA tournament, so it's all about Mountain West seeding. It's not none of the games the rest of the season are really a big win. There might be some big losses if they lose to something like Air Force. That'd be embarrassing. But a good win for UNLV. An impressive win against a team that's, I don't want to say is good, but is not bad. Boise State's played like the toughest schedule in the Mountain West. Like it's their top 10 in the country in strength of schedule. So their record kind of sucks, but it's because they've played a whole bunch of good teams and UNLV beat them. So it's a pretty solid win for UNLV overall. Again, shout out to Battle Blast Las Vegas for sponsoring the show. Also check out my Patreon, Technically Correct with Tyler Bischoff on Patreon.